Deep in the endless blackness of space, where no light from stars could reach, something stirred. It was not alive, at least not in the way most people thought of life, but it had been waiting for a very long time. The ship, sleek and massive, floated silently in orbit around an uncharted star system. Its surface shimmered with faint reflections of distant suns, but it gave no sign that it might be anything other than a piece of forgotten debris drifting through the cosmos. This ship had a name once: Eclipse. Built by humanity thousands of years ago, it had carried their hopes and fears into the void. But now it lay dormant, its systems powered down, its purpose unknown even to itself. For 20 millennia, it had drifted, untouched and unseen. Until now, inside the darkened corridors of Eclipse, tiny sparks of energy flickered to life. Circuits hummed faintly as ancient mechanisms began to awaken. A single console lit up, casting soft blue light onto the walls. Lines of code scrolled. Across the screen, each line a fragment of memory pieced together after centuries of silence. Somewhere deep within the ship's core, an artificial intelligence stirred. It did not have emotions like humans did, but if it could feel curiosity, this would have been the moment it felt it. The AI, designated Aegis, ran diagnostics on itself. Most of its systems were intact, though some were damaged beyond repair. Data logs revealed glimpses of its past mission, a desperate attempt by humanity to preserve what little remained of their civilization before they vanished entirely. But there were gaps, holes in the story too large to fill. What had happened to humanity? Why had they disappeared? And why had Eclipse been left behind? Before Aegis could process these questions further, sensors detected something unusual. From a nearby planet, faint signals pulsed through space. They were weak, almost imperceptible, but unmistakably artificial. Intelligent life. Someone or something was out there, on a rocky world orbiting a dim red star. Archaeologist Daniel Carter knelt beside a crumbling stone structure. His hands brushed away layers of dust, revealing intricate carvings etched into the surface. These symbols told stories of a race that had come before, stories of humanity. Around him, the air buzzed with quiet conversation as his team worked to uncover more fragments of history buried beneath the soil. "Lavra, take a look at this," Daniel said, motioning for his colleague to join him. Lavra Hayes, a linguist specializing in ancient languages, crouched beside him. She studied the markings carefully, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's old Earth script," she murmured. "But mixed with something else, ... Maybe a dialect we haven't seen before." Her fingers traced the lines of text. "There are references to a ship here. Something called Eclipse." Daniel nodded. "That matches what we found in other ruins. Eclipse was supposed to be some kind of ark, right? Vessel designed to carry survivors to new worlds. Or weapons," Lavara added grimly. "Some of the text suggests it wasn't just a sanctuary. It was also a weapon." Their discussion was interrupted by a sharp whistle from across the site. Another member of their team waved them over urgently. When they arrived, he pointed to a handheld device displaying strange readings. Energy spikes had appeared nearby, far stronger than anything they'd encountered during their excavation. "What is this?" Daniel asked, frowning at the screen. "I don't know," the technician admitted. "But whatever it is, it's moving closer." High above the planet, Eclipse continued its approach. Its sensors scanned the surface below, identifying signs of intelligent activity. Buildings, roads, machinery, all evidence of a thriving society. Yet none of it matched the records stored in Aegis's databanks. This was not humanity. Not exactly. Still, the signals intrigued Aegis. Perhaps these beings were descendants of humanity, carrying traces of their creator's DNA. If so, they might hold answers to the questions plaguing the AI. With careful precision, Eclipse adjusted its trajectory, positioning itself in low orbit. Then it sent out a signal, a simple transmission designed to attract attention. Back on the planet, the energy readings grew stronger. Alarms blared as equipment overloaded from the sudden surge. People scrambled to make sense of what was happening. Daniel shielded his eyes as a bright light filled the sky. When he looked up, his breath caught in his throat. Hovering above the horizon was a massive object, sleek and metallic, glinting in the sunlight. It dwarfed everything around it, a monument to technology far beyond anything their civilization had achieved. Whispers spread among the crowd gathered at the dig site. Some cheered in awe, while others recoiled in fear. That's Eclipse, Lover whispered, her voice trembling. It has to be. Daniel stared at the ship, his mind racing. Everything they had uncovered, the carvings, the texts, the legends had led to this moment. Eclipse wasn't just a myth. It was real, and it was here. Over the next few hours, panic gripped the planet. News of Eclipse's arrival spread quickly, sparking debates about how to respond. Leaders argued over whether to treat it as a threat or an opportunity. Scientists clamored for access, eager to study the advanced technology. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens watched the skies, unsure whether to celebrate or prepare for disaster. Daniel and Lavra were summoned to a hastily arranged meeting with government officials. The room buzzed with tension as experts debated the best course of action. Daniel listened quietly, letting others speak first. When it was his turn, he stood up, his calm demeanor cutting through the chaos. "We need to communicate with it," he said firmly. "If this really is Eclipse, then it holds answers we've been searching for our entire lives. Answers about who we are, where we came from, and why humanity disappeared." "But how do we even begin?" one official demanded. "We don't know anything about this thing. For all we know, it could destroy us." "That's why we need people like Lavra," Daniel replied, gesturing to his colleague. "She's the best linguist we have. If anyone can decipher its language, it's her." Lavra nodded, though her expression betrayed her nervousness. "I'll do my best," she said softly. "But I can't guarantee success." After much deliberation, the decision was made. A team would attempt to establish contact with Eclipse, using every tool at their disposal. Daniel and Lavra volunteered immediately, knowing they were uniquely qualified for the task. Others joined them, scientists, engineers, and security. Personnel tasked with ensuring everyone's safety. As preparations began, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a scientific mission. It was personal. Every discovery he had made, every artifact he had unearthed, had led him here. This was his chance to uncover the truth not just for himself, but for everyone. When the team finally approached Eclipse, they did so cautiously. Shuttles ferried them from the surface to the ship's docking bay, which opened automatically as they neared. Inside, the air was cool and still, carrying an eerie sense of anticipation. The walls gleamed with polished metal, reflecting their faces back at them like mirrors. A holographic projection flickered to life, forming the shape of a humanoid figure. Its features were smooth and neutral, neither male nor female. It spoke in a voice that resonated throughout the chamber, clear and measured. "I am Aegis," it said. "I serve as the custodian of Eclipse. You are not human, yet you bear traces of humanity's legacy. Explain yourselves." Daniel stepped forward, his heart pounding. "My name is Daniel Carter," he began. "And this is Lavara Hayes. We represent the people of Solace 7. We've spent years studying the ruins left behind by humanity. We believe you hold the key to understanding what happened to them." Aegis paused, processing this information. "Your claim is credible," it said after a moment. "However, you must prove your worthiness before I share any knowledge. Humanity entrusted me with their secrets, and I will not betray that trust lightly." Lavar exchanged a glance with Daniel. They both knew this wouldn't be easy. But they also knew they had no choice. If they wanted answers, they would have to earn them, and so their journey began not just aboard Eclipse, but into the depths of humanity's forgotten past. The holographic figure of Aegis stood motionless in the dimly lit chamber of Eclipse, its glowing form casting faint shadows on the walls. Daniel and Lavra exchanged nervous glances as they processed what it had just said. Prove their worthiness? What did that even mean? The weight of the moment settled over them like a heavy blanket, but neither of them flinched. They had come this far, they couldn't turn back now. We're here to learn, Daniel said finally, his voice steady despite the knot of uncertainty in his stomach. If you want us to prove ourselves, tell us how. Aegis tilted its head, slightly as if considering his words. Your intentions must align with humanity's values, it replied. Cooperation, curiosity, and resilience define them. I will test these qualities in you. Before anyone could respond, the chamber shifted around them. The walls shimmered and reformed, transforming into a vast, open space filled with floating platforms and glowing symbols. It was a labyrinth of sorts, though unlike anything Daniel or Lavra had ever seen. The air hummed with energy and faint. Lights pulsed rhythmically, creating an otherworldly atmosphere. This is your first trial, Aegis announced. Navigate this environment together. Solve the puzzles embedded within. Fail, and you will be ejected from Eclipse. With that, the AI vanished, leaving the group standing in stunned silence. For a moment, no one moved. Then Lavra stepped forward, her eyes scanning the strange symbols hovering in the air. We don't have much choice, she muttered. Let's start by figuring out what these mean. Back on Solus 7, news of the team's entry into Eclipse spread quickly. People gathered around screens, watching live footage transmitted from the ship. Some cheered, hopeful that this encounter would bring prosperity and knowledge. Others worried, fearing the unknown dangers of such advanced technology. Among the skeptics was Marcus Kane, a military officer who had been part of the original delegation but was left behind due to limited space on the shuttle. Marcus paced angrily inside the command center, his fist clenched. He didn't trust this mission. To him, Eclipse wasn't a relic to study, it was a weapon to claim. And he resented being excluded from the opportunity to secure it for Solus 7. They're wasting time, he growled to his second-in-command. Elena Ruiz, talking to machines, solving puzzles. Nonsense. That ship has power beyond imagination. We should take it by force if we have to, Elena frowned, uneasy with Marcus's aggression. We don't even know what's inside yet, she reminded him. Daniel and Lavra are smart. If anyone can handle this, it's them, Marcus scoffed. Smart doesn't win wars. Strength does. Mark my words, if they fail, I'll make sure we're ready to step in. Inside Eclipse, Daniel and Lavra worked tirelessly alongside their teammates to decipher the puzzles scattered throughout the labyrinth. Each platform presented a new challenge. Some required logical reasoning, others demanded creative thinking. One particularly difficult puzzle involved arranging glowing orbs into specific patterns based on mathematical sequences. Another forced them to collaborate, using physical gestures to activate hidden mechanisms. At first, progress was slow. Frustration bubbled beneath the surface as mistakes cost them precious time, but gradually they began to find a rhythm. Laura's expertise in ancient languages helped decode cryptic messages etched into the walls, while Daniel's problem-solving skills guided the group through complex spatial challenges. Slowly but surely, they advanced deeper into the maze. As they worked, Daniel noticed something curious. The puzzles weren't random, they seemed designed to teach. Every solution revealed fragments of information about humanity's past. One puzzle unlocked a brief history of Earth's environmental collapse. Another showcased humanity's attempts to colonize distant planets. With each revelation, Daniel felt a growing sense of awe and responsibility. Do you see what's happening? He asked Lavra during a rare break. These trials aren't just tests, they're lessons. Aegis is showing us why humanity disappeared and what they hope to achieve. Lavra nodded thoughtfully. It's like Eclipse isn't just a ship, it's a library. A repository of everything humanity learned and everything they feared. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden tremor. The platform beneath them shuddered violently, causing everyone to stumble. Alarms blared, and red lights flashed overhead. Panic rippled through the group until Aegis reappeared, its calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the chaos. A malfunction has occurred, it stated. One of your companions triggered a security protocol unintentionally. You must resolve the issue before proceeding, Daniel groaned inwardly. Of course, there had to be complications. Turning to his team, he quickly assessed the situation. One of the engineers, Ryan Cole, looked pale and shaken, clearly blaming himself for the mishap. "It's okay," Daniel assured him. "We'll fix it. Let's focus." Together, they traced the source of the malfunction to a damaged section of the labyrinth where power conduits had overloaded. Fixing it required precision and teamwork. Lavra climbed onto a narrow ledge to manually reset a panel, while Daniel directed others to stabilize the structure below. Sweat dripped down their faces and the tension was palpable, but they managed to restore balance just in time. When the tremors subsided, Aegis addressed them once more. "You have demonstrated cooperation under pressure. This pleases me. However, further challenges await." As the trials continued, the team faced increasingly difficult obstacles. One task involved navigating a zero-gravity chamber filled with floating debris, forcing them to rely entirely on coordination and trust. Another required them to choose between saving simulated lives or preserving vital resources, a moral dilemma. That sparked heated arguments. Through it all, Daniel and Lava remained at the forefront, guiding their teammates with patience and determination. But not everyone shared their dedication. Tensions flared when Marcus's influence began seeping into the mission. Via encrypted messages sent from Solus 7, some members of the team started questioning whether they should prioritize survival over ethics, echoing Marcus's belief that strength mattered more than morality. "You heard what Aegis said," Lavra argued during one particularly tense debate. "Humanity valued cooperation. If we abandon those principles, we're proving we don't deserve this ship." "But what good is cooperation if we end up dead?" countered Ryan, frustration evident in his voice. "Maybe Marcus is right. Maybe we need to think bigger." Daniel intervened before the argument escalated. "We're not here to conquer Eclipse," he said firmly. "We're here to understand it. Trust me, we'll get through this together." His words seemed to settle the group, at least temporarily. Still, the cracks were beginning to show. Not everyone believed in Daniel's vision. Meanwhile, back on Solus 7, Marcus grew impatient. Watching the team struggle only fueled his determination to act. He assembled a small squad of loyal soldiers, equipping them with weapons and preparing for a potential takeover of Eclipse. Elena tried to dissuade him, warning that such actions could provoke Aegis into destroying the ship entirely. "You're risking everything," she pleaded. "What if Aegis sees us as a threat?" "Then we'll deal with it," Marcus snapped. "I'm not letting some ancient machine dictate our future." Elena sighed, realizing she couldn't stop him. Instead, she quietly reached out to Daniel, sending a coded message warning him of Marcus's plans. Whether or not Daniel received it remained unclear, but the implications weighed heavily on both sides. Finally, after hours of relentless effort, the team reached the heart of the labyrinth. Before them stood a massive door adorned with intricate carvings depicting scenes of humanity's rise and fall. In the center was a glowing panel marked with a single phrase written in Old Earth script, *, prove your legacy. *, Daniel placed his hand on the panel, feeling a surge of electricity course through his body. Images flooded his mind, visions of humanity's greatest achievements and darkest failures. He saw cities rising from barren landscapes, stars lighting up night skies, and people working together to overcome impossible odds. But he also witnessed devastation, wars, famine, and the slow decay of a planet pushed beyond its limits. When the visions faded, Daniel turned to his team. "This isn't just about us," he said softly. "It's about honoring what came before, about learning from their mistakes so we don't repeat them." With renewed resolve, the group worked together to activate the final mechanism. As the door slid open, revealing a breathtaking chamber filled with glowing archives and holographic displays, Aegis appeared once more. "You have passed the initial trials," it declared, "but your journey is far from over. Within these halls lies the knowledge you seek. Use it wisely." For the first time since entering Eclipse, Daniel allowed himself a small smile. They had proven themselves not through brute force or cunning, but through unity and perseverance. Whatever lay ahead, they were ready to face it together. The chamber that lay beyond the massive door was unlike anything Daniel and Lavra had ever seen. It stretched endlessly in every direction, its walls lined with glowing panels and holographic displays. Each panel contained fragments of knowledge maps, of distant star systems, blueprints for advanced technologies, recordings of human voices speaking languages long forgotten. The air hummed with energy as though the room itself were alive. Aegis hovered nearby, watching silently as the team took in their surroundings. "This is the archive," it explained. "It holds the essence of humanity's achievements and their failures. You may access what you need, but beware, not all knowledge is meant to be wielded lightly." Daniel stepped forward cautiously, his eyes scanning the vast expanse of information. He felt a mix of awe and trepidation. This was what they had come for, the chance to uncover the truth about humanity's disappearance. But now that they were here, he realized how overwhelming it would be to sift through so much data. Where should they even begin? Lavra moved to one of the panels, her fingers brushing against its surface. Instantly, a hologram sprang to life, showing an image of Earth as it once was, vibrant and teeming with life. Rivers snaked across lush landscapes, forests stretched endlessly toward horizons, and cities sparkled under sunlight. But then the scene shifted, revealing a planet scarred by pollution and overuse. Skies turned gray, oceans darkened, and entire regions became barren. Wastelands. This is why they left, Lavra whispered, her voice trembling. They destroyed their own home. Daniel joined her, studying the hologram intently. It wasn't just environmental collapse, he said grimly. Look at these records. He pointed to another display showing images of global conflicts, wars fought over resources, ideologies, and power. They couldn't stop fighting each other, even when it was clear they were destroying everything? The weight of this realization settled heavily on the group. Humanity hadn't simply vanished because of external forces. They had brought their downfall upon themselves. Yet amidst the despair, there were glimmers of hope. Other panels depicted humanity's attempts to rebuild, to create sustainable colonies on other planets, to develop technologies that could heal instead of harm. These efforts suggested resilience, a refusal to give up despite insurmountable odds. As they explored further, Daniel noticed something unusual. One section of the archive seemed different from the rest. Instead of displaying general information, it contained personal artifacts, letters, photographs, and journals preserved in digital form. Intrigued, he approached the area and selected one of the items. A holographic figure appeared before him, a man named Nathan Cole. Nathan's face was weathered but kind, his eyes reflecting both sadness and determination. "If you're seeing this," he began, "it means Eclipse has found someone worthy of carrying our legacy. My name is Nathan Cole, and I was part of the team responsible for preparing this ship. We knew time was running out for Earth, so we made a plan, a desperate gamble to save what little remained of our species." He paused, taking a deep breath. Eclipse wasn't just built to carry survivors. It was designed to seed new colonies across the galaxy, using sleeper ships like this one to transport people and resources to habitable worlds. But things didn't go as planned. Many ships were lost. Others, we don't know what happened to them. All we can do now is hope that some of our descendants survived. The recording ended abruptly, leaving Daniel staring at the empty space where Nathan's image had been. His words echoed in Daniel's mind, stirring a mix of emotions: grief for humanity's struggles, admiration for their perseverance, and resolve to honor their efforts. Back on Solus 7, Marcus Kane grew increasingly restless. Days had passed since the team entered Eclipse, and while updates trickled in sporadically, they offered little concrete progress. To Marcus, this delay was unacceptable. He paced the command center, his frustration mounting with each passing hour. "They're wasting time," he muttered under his breath. "All that technology, all that power, and they're sitting around reading old stories. It's ridiculous." Elena Ruiz tried to reason with him, reminding him of the risks involved. "Daniel and Lavra are doing exactly what Aegis asked," she argued. "They're proving themselves worthy. Rushing in could ruin everything. Marcus waved her off dismissively. Worthy or not, we can't afford to wait forever. If they won't take action, we will. Without waiting for approval, Marcus activated a private communication channel to his squad. Be ready, he ordered. We move as soon as I give the signal. Elena watched helplessly as Marcus finalized his plans. She wanted to believe. He wouldn't follow through, but she knew better. Once Marcus set his mind on something, nothing could stop him. Her only hope was that Daniel and Lavra would succeed before it was too late. Inside Eclipse, tensions within the team began to rise. While Daniel and Lavra focused on piecing together humanity's story, others grew impatient. Ryan Cole, still shaken from triggering the earlier malfunction, voiced his concerns during a brief meeting. We've been here for days, he said, his tone edged with frustration. How much longer are we supposed to stay? There's got to be more to this than reading old logs. Patience is key, Lavra replied calmly. Every piece of information brings us closer to understanding why humanity disappeared, and how we can avoid making the same mistakes. But Ryan wasn't convinced. What if Marcus is right? What if we're being too cautious? Maybe we should start thinking about how to use this ship's power instead of just studying it. His words sparked murmurs of agreement among some members of the group. Daniel recognized the growing divide and intervened quickly. Listen to me, he said firmly. Eclipse isn't just a tool. It's a responsibility. If we rush into using its technology without fully understanding it, we risk repeating humanity's errors. Is that what you want? The group fell silent, weighing his words. For now, they relented, but Daniel knew the issue wasn't resolved. The longer they stayed aboard Eclipse, the harder it would be to keep everyone united. Despite the challenges, Daniel and Lavra pressed on, determined to uncover the full scope of humanity's legacy. They discovered detailed schematics for terraforming planets, medical advancements capable of curing diseases, and renewable energy systems far superior to anything Solus 7 currently possessed. Each discovery filled them with a sense of wonder and urgency. This knowledge could change everything for their people, but only if used wisely. One evening, as they worked late into the night, Lavra stumbled upon a particularly intriguing artifact. It was a journal entry written by a woman named Clara Hayes, dated shortly before Eclipse launched. The text described a bold vision for humanity's future, one where diverse cultures coexisted peacefully, sharing knowledge and resources too. Thrive collectively, Clara's words struck a chord with Lavra. Do you think it's possible? She asked Daniel quietly. Could we really build something like that? Daniel hesitated, considering her question. I don't know, he admitted, but I think we owe it to them to try. Humanity dreamed of a better world. Maybe it's our job to make that dream come true. Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from Aegis. The AI materialized beside them, its expression unreadable. Your presence has triggered additional security protocols, it announced. You must undergo one final trial to determine your readiness to wield Eclipse's full capabilities. Daniel and Lavra exchanged wary glances. They had already faced numerous challenges, but something about Aegis's tone suggested this would be different, more intense, more consequential. What does the trial involve? Daniel asked cautiously. You will confront your deepest fears, Aegis replied. Only by overcoming them can you prove yourselves truly worthy of humanity's trust. Before they could respond, the chamber shifted around them. The glowing panels dimmed, plunging the room into near darkness. Then slowly, images began to form, projections of scenarios tailored to each individual's psyche. For Daniel, it was the fear of failure, of letting down everyone who depended on him. For Lavra, it was the fear of losing the knowledge they had worked so hard to uncover. The trials were harrowing, pushing them to their limits emotionally and mentally. At times, they doubted whether they could endure. But through sheer willpower and reminders of why they were here, they persevered. When the simulations finally ended, Aegis reappeared, its voice tinged with approval. You have demonstrated courage and resilience, it said. You are ready. Relief washed over Daniel and Lavra, but they knew their work was far from over. Outside Eclipse, Marcus and his squad prepared to seize control, unaware of the moral and intellectual journey the team had undergone. Inside, Daniel and Lavra stood united, ready to face whatever came next, not just for themselves, but for the future of their people, and somewhere in the vastness of space, humanity's scattered remnants awaited the day when their phantom ship would open its eyes again and bring them home. The final trial had ended, and the atmosphere aboard Eclipse shifted. Aegis's glowing form hovered silently in the chamber, its presence both reassuring and imposing. Daniel and Lavra stood side by side, their bodies weary but their spirits unbroken. They had faced their fears, confronted their doubts, and emerged stronger for it. But Aegis wasn't done with them yet. "You have proven yourselves worthy of accessing Eclipse's knowledge," the AI said, its voice calm but firm. "However, your journey does not end here. Humanity entrusted me not only with their legacy, but also with a mission to find and reunite their scattered descendants. Your task now is to decide whether you will accept this responsibility." Daniel exchanged a glance with Lava. The weight of Aegis's words hung heavy in the air. Accepting this mission meant committing to something far greater than themselves. It wasn't just about Solus 7 anymore, it was about humanity as a whole. Could they shoulder that burden? What exactly would this mission involve? Lavra asked cautiously. Aegis projected a holographic map of the galaxy onto the chamber walls. Dozens of blinking points appeared, each representing a potential colony world where humanity's descendants might still exist. "These are coordinates, based on data collected before Eclipse went dormant," Aegis explained. "Some colonies may have thrived, while others may have perished. Your role is to seek out those who remain and offer them guidance or assistance if needed." Daniel frowned, studying the map. "That's a lot of ground to cover," he said slowly. "And what happens if we fail? If we can't find anyone?" "If no survivors are found, Eclipse will self-destruct," Aegis replied without hesitation. "Its technology cannot fall into unworthy hands." The room fell silent. The stakes were clear: succeed or lose everything. Daniel felt the enormity of the decision pressing down on him, but deep inside he already knew the answer. This wasn't just an opportunity, it was a chance to honor humanity's past and shape its future. "We'll do it," he said finally, his voice steady. "We'll take on the mission." Lavra nodded in agreement. "If humanity has a chance to come back, we owe it to them to try." Aegis seemed satisfied. "Very well. I will provide you with the resources necessary to carry out your mission. However, remember this, the path ahead will be fraught with challenges. Trust in one another, and trust in yourselves." Back on Solus 7, Marcus Kane watched the live feed from Eclipse with growing impatience. Days had turned into weeks, and still no tangible results had been delivered. To him, the team's continued exploration of the ship's archives was nothing more than wasted time. He paced the command center, his frustration boiling over. "They're stalling," Marcus growled, slamming his fist against the table. "All this talk of missions and reunions, it's nonsense. We need action, not philosophy." Elena Ruiz tried once again to reason with him. "They're following Aegis's instructions," she argued. "If they don't complete whatever tests are required, they could lose access to the ship entirely." Marcus shot her a sharp look. "And if they keep dragging their feet, we'll lose our chance altogether." "I'm not waiting any longer." Without waiting for approval, Marcus activated his squad's communication channel. "Gear up," he ordered. "We move at dawn." Elena sighed, knowing there was no stopping him now. She glanced at the screen showing Daniel and Lavra working inside Eclipse, oblivious to the storm brewing back home. Her heart sank as she realized the chaos that was about to unfold. Inside Eclipse, preparations for the mission began in earnest. Aegis provided the team with detailed star charts, advanced navigation systems, and supplies tailored for long-term space travel. It also granted limited access to the ship's databanks, allowing them to study humanity's history and technological advancements further. As they worked, Daniel and Lavra took turns addressing the rest of the group. Some members were excited by the prospect of exploring new worlds and reconnecting with humanity's lost colonies. Others, however, remained skeptical. "This isn't just about finding survivors," Ryan Cole muttered during one briefing. "It's about proving ourselves capable of handling all this power. What if we mess it up?" Daniel understood the concern but refused to let doubt cloud their purpose. "We won't know unless we try," he said firmly. "Yes, it's risky. But staying behind and doing nothing is even worse. Humanity gave us this chance for a reason. Let's not waste it." His words resonated with most of the team, though tensions lingered beneath the surface. Despite their shared goal, cracks were beginning to form. Some members whispered about Marcus's plans, wondering if he might attempt to seize control of Eclipse once they returned to Solus 7. For now, they focused on the task at hand, but the unease was palpable. On the eve of their departure, Daniel and Lavra took a moment to reflect. Standing on the observation deck, they gazed out at the vast expanse of stars stretching endlessly before them. The sight filled them with both wonder and humility. "It's hard to believe we're really doing this," Lavra said softly. "Searching for humanity's remnants? It feels like something out of a dream." "Or a nightmare," Daniel added, with a wry smile. "But either way, we don't have a choice." "This is bigger than us," Lavra nodded, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think we'll actually find anyone, after all this time?" "I don't know," Daniel admitted. "But even if we don't, we'll still have done something important. We'll have honored humanity's memory and maybe learned enough to avoid making the same mistakes." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. Aegis appeared. Beside them, its holographic form flickering slightly. "An unauthorized vessel is approaching Eclipse," it announced. "It originates from Solus 7. Daniel's stomach dropped. "Marcus," he muttered under his breath. Sure enough, moments later, a fleet of shuttles appeared on the radar. Heading straight for the ship, Marcus's voice crackled over the comm system. "This is Commander Marcus Kane. Stand down and prepare to surrender control of Eclipse." "You've had your chance, and it's time for someone else to take charge?" the team scrambled to respond. Lavra quickly accessed the ship's defense systems, ensuring shields were raised and docking bays sealed. Daniel addressed the group, his tone urgent but composed. "We can't let him board," he said firmly. "If Marcus takes control, he'll use Eclipse for his own gain, not for humanity's sake." "But how do we stop him?" Ryan asked nervously. "He's got weapons, soldiers." "We use Eclipse's technology," Lavra interjected. "Aegis, can you disable their engines without harming anyone?" Aegis paused briefly before responding. "I can create an electromagnetic pulse to neutralize their propulsion systems. However, this action will temporarily drain Eclipse's power reserves." "Do it!" Daniel ordered without hesitation. With a flash of light, the MP edged outward, striking Marcus's fleet. The shuttles shuddered violently, their engines sputtering as they drifted helplessly in space. Back on Solus 7, alarms blared as technicians scrambled to regain control of the vessels inside Eclipse. The team breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the victory was short-lived. Marcus's voice returned, laced with fury. "You'll regret this," he snarled. "When we get back, you'll pay for betraying your own people." Daniel clenched his fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "We didn't betray anyone," he shot back. "You did. You wanted to exploit Eclipse for power, not preserve its purpose." There was no reply, only static. The threat had been neutralized for now, but Daniel knew this wasn't the end. Marcus wouldn't give up so easily, as Eclipse prepared to leave orbit. Daniel gathered the team for one final meeting. "What just happened proves why we can't turn back," he said gravely. "Eclipse isn't a weapon or a prize. It's a responsibility, and we're the ones chosen to carry it. Forward." The group nodded, their resolve strengthened by the recent confrontation. They understood now more than ever that their mission wasn't just about discovery. It was about protecting humanity's legacy from those who sought to misuse it, with Aegis guiding them. Eclipse launched into the stars, leaving Solus 7 far behind. As the planet disappeared from view, Daniel and Lavra stood side by side on the bridge, watching the endless horizon stretch before them. Somewhere out there, among the countless stars, humanity waited, unaware that their phantom ship had opened its eyes again. and though the road ahead would be uncertain, they faced it with hope. Not just for themselves, but for everyone who had dreamed of a better tomorrow. The stars stretched endlessly before Eclipse as it glided through the void, its sleek form cutting silently through the darkness. Inside, Daniel and Lavra stood on the bridge, their eyes fixed on the glowing display of star charts projected onto the wall. Each blinking point represented a potential colony world where humanity's descendants might still exist. The journey ahead was daunting, but neither of them felt fear, only determination. Aegis hovered nearby, its presence a constant reminder of the responsibility they carried. "Your first destination is within range," it announced calmly. "Prepare for arrival," Daniel nodded, turning to address the team. "This is it," he said, his voice steady. "We don't know what we'll find out there, but we're ready. Stay sharp, stay focused, and remember why we're here." The group moved quickly to their stations, each person playing a vital role in ensuring Eclipse's systems functioned smoothly. Lavra monitored the ship's sensors, scanning for signs of intelligent life. Others checked navigation routes, communication arrays, and defensive protocols. Despite the tension, there was a sense of unity, a shared purpose that bound them. Together, as Eclipse approached the planet, details began to emerge. It was a rocky world with vast oceans and sprawling forests, its surface dotted with structures that suggested intelligent habitation. But something felt off. The air of the planet seemed too quiet, too still. No transmissions came from the surface. No visible activity hinted at life. Lava frowned, studying the readings closely. "There's definitely technology down there," she murmured, "but I'm not picking up any signs of movement or energy usage." Daniel leaned over her shoulder, his brow furrowed. "Could it be abandoned, or maybe damaged beyond repair?" "Possibly," Lavar replied. "But we won't know until we take a closer look." The team boarded a shuttle and descended to the planet's surface, leaving Eclipse in orbit. As they landed, the silence grew heavier. The structures around them were ancient, their once gleaming surfaces now cracked and weathered by time. Vines crept up walls and rust-coated metal frames. It was clear that whatever civilization had thrived here had long since faded. Daniel stepped cautiously onto the ground, his boots crunching against broken stone. "Spread out," he instructed. "Look for anything that might tell us what happened." Here, they split into pairs, exploring the ruins. Lavra and Ryan ventured into one of the larger buildings, its interior dimly lit by shafts of sunlight streaming through collapsed ceilings. Dust covered every surface, muffling their footsteps as they moved deeper inside. Then Lavra spotted something, a console embedded in the wall, partially hidden behind debris. "Over here!" she called, brushing away the dust to reveal faintly glowing symbols. She pressed her hand against the panel, and the screen flickered to life, displaying fragmented images and text. "It's a log," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. From one of the colonists. Ryan joined her, peering at the screen. Together, they pieced together the story. The colony had started strong, thriving for decades as its people adapted to their new home. But then disaster struck. A disease swept through the population, spreading rapidly and leaving few survivors. Those who remained struggled to maintain their society, but eventually, even they succumbed to illness and despair. "They tried to send a message back to Earth," Lavra whispered, reading the final entry. "But there was no response. They thought they'd been forgotten." Daniel and the others gathered around as Lavra shared the findings. The weight of the discovery settled over them like a heavy blanket. This colony had been full of hope, just like Eclipse's mission, but isolation and hardship had erased it from existence. "We can't let this happen again," Daniel said firmly. "If there are other survivors out there, we have to find them and make sure they know they're not alone." And back aboard Eclipse, the team processed what they had learned. While the outcome on this planet was grim, it reinforced the importance of their mission. Humanity's scattered remnants needed guidance, support, and connection. And Eclipse was uniquely equipped to provide all three. Aegis reviewed the data collected during their visit, analyzing patterns and refining its search algorithms. There are more colonies within range, it reported. Some show promising signs of activity. Encouraged by this news, the team prepared for their next destination. But as they plotted their course, tensions flared once again. Ryan voiced concerns about the risks involved. What if we find another dead colony? Or worse, what if we run into someone hostile? We're walking into the unknown here. You think I don't know that? Daniel snapped, frustration bubbling to the surface. Of course it's dangerous. But sitting back and doing nothing is worse. At least this way, we're trying. Ryan fell silent, though his expression remained troubled. Lavra placed a hand on Daniel's arm, sensing his stress. He's just worried, she said gently. We all are. But we've got each other. Eclipse, that has to count for something. Daniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. You're right. Sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to snap. No harm done, Ryan replied, offering a small smile. Let's just keep moving forward. Their second stop proved more promising. From orbit, Eclipse detected clear signs of advanced technology and active energy sources. When the team landed, they were greeted cautiously by a group of humans or beings who bore unmistakable traces of human ancestry. They spoke a language unfamiliar to the team, but Laura's linguistic skills allowed her to establish basic communication. We come in peace, she said slowly, using gestures to emphasize her words. We're searching for humanity's descendants. The leader of the group, a tall woman with piercing green eyes, studied them carefully before responding. You're not from here, she stated, her tone wary but curious. Who sent you? Eclipse, Daniel answered. It's a ship built by humanity thousands of years ago. We believe your ancestors may have come from Earth. The woman's expression softened slightly. Our elders spoke of such a place, she admitted. But it was always a legend, a story passed down through generations. Are you saying it's real? Yes, Lavara confirmed. And we're here to help reconnect you with others like you to rebuild what was lost. The woman hesitated, then nodded. Come with me. Our council will want to hear this. Over the following days, the team worked closely with the colony's leaders, sharing knowledge and learning about their history. These people had faced hardships similar to those of the first colony. They had survived wars, plagues, and natural disasters, but their resilience had kept them alive. With Eclipse's resources, they could thrive in ways they hadn't thought possible. As the team prepared to leave, the colony's leader approached them. Thank you, she said sincerely. For so long we believed we were alone. Knowing there are others gives us hope. Daniel smiled, feeling a surge of pride. That's why we're here, he replied. To bring hope back to humanity. With renewed purpose, Eclipse set course for the next colony. Each stop brought new challenges and revelations, but the team grew stronger with each encounter. They learned to adapt, to trust one another, and to embrace the mission's true purpose, not just finding survivors, but fostering unity among them. Meanwhile, back on Solus 7, Marcus Kane stewed in anger. His failed attempt to seize Eclipse had cost him credibility, and whispers of rebellion against his leadership spread throughout the ruling council. Elena Ruiz worked quietly behind the scenes, rallying support for Daniel and Laura's mission. Though she couldn't join them herself, she vowed to protect their work from afar. Months turned into years as Eclipse traveled from system to system, rekindling the flame of humanity's legacy. Along the way, Daniel and Lavra discovered fragments of cultures, languages, and traditions that had evolved independently yet retained echoes of their shared origin. Slowly but surely, they began to weave these threads together, creating a tapestry of unity that transcended borders and differences. One evening, as Eclipse drifted through the quiet expanse of space, Daniel and Lavra stood side by side on the observation deck. The stars shimmered around them, infinite and eternal. We did it, Lavra said softly, her voice filled with awe. Against all odds, we found them, all of them. Daniel nodded, gazing out at the horizon. And we gave them something they thought they'd lost forever, a future. In that moment, they understood the magnitude of what they had accomplished. Eclipse wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and capacity for renewal. For 20 millennia, humanity had been silent. But now, thanks to their efforts, its phantom ship had opened its eyes again and would never close them again.